Welcome to Listertainment, the channel who promises entertainment but never delivers any. I'm pretty sure we all like to see fighters who have weird and fun fighting styles because they provide the most entertainment and their fights can be so unpredictable. If you look at fighters with standard styles that have been tested through time, the fights are also great to watch, but you don't expect to be surprised with a weird combination or a once-in-a-lifetime knockout. But the fighters on this list are able to bring the unexpected to the ring or the octagon, and their fights will leave you talking for weeks. If you happen to enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe down below. Also be sure to turn on those notifications, and please let me know in the comments whose style do you find the weirdest and most fun to watch. Vasyl Lomachenko is probably the pound-for-pound best boxer on the planet in this moment, and it is well deserved with so many of his recent opponents quitting against him. His style is extremely unique because his footwork is so marvelous and perfect. He's able to move around the ring like it's nothing and is able to move around his opponents like a damn ballerina. He is suddenly punching you from the front and then you cover up, and by the time you try to look at him again, he's already behind you punching you and knocking you down. The way he crowds fighters is also amazing. He gets in close but uses his feet to shift around you so you can't hit him, while he's opening huge opportunities to hit you. He's just so entertaining.
His head up the line and threw that up jab. Good combination. Really high level stuff. Unbelievable stuff. Right in the center of the ring. And Martinez goes down. Lomachenko scores the knockdown.
His next fight with Khabib might not be happening, but Tony Ferguson has one of the most unique fighting styles in the UFC. He is a pretty dominant fighter both on the ground and with his striking. But his style is completely unorthodox. Nobody knows what he's going to do next. He might just do one of his crazy combinations or do a spin and throw multiple elbows. His cardio is also insane. He will pressure the opponent the entire fight, coming forward and throwing strikes in incredibly high quantities. His style looks like a free-flowing random chaos, but Ferguson knows exactly what he is trying to do and has a plan in mind the entire time. The only real issue with his style is that he leaves himself open to receiving counterpunches since he drops his hands way too low, but he can take a punch with his iron chin, so it doesn't affect him that much.
Head kick lock. Oh, kicks by Ferguson. Oh, do it. Comparison for Ferguson. No.
Of all the fighters on this list, there is no other fighter whose unique style is basically made in a way to showboat and taunt his opponents, like that of Michael Venom Page. He makes it a point to fight with his hands down and prove to the world that this fighting style will work, even though so many others want to test it. He has stated that his showboating style is just his personality. As soon as the camera comes on, it just comes out, and I gotta say, it does provide endless entertainment. His unorthodox movements have been compared to that of a snake charmer, who captivates his opponents and then pounces with extreme speed and power. His braggadocious attitude does get on many people's nerves, and they loved seeing him lose against Douglas Lima.
Runs into the jump knee and it's over. The footwork. Look at the hands of Michael Page. Big right hand.
Sergio Maravilla Martinez is from Argentina and is one of the best middleweight fighters in the last 20 years. He was able to destroy the much feared and avoided boxer in Paul Williams by knocking him out in devastating fashion.
Good left hand.
He was a southpaw whose fighting style would always please the fans. He would fight with his hands down by his side, standing just outside the range of his opponents. Of course, this would entice his opponents to try and come in with a jab or a power punch, which he would perfectly counterpunch. He had one of the fastest feet and hands in his weight division and used it wonderfully to move in and out and deliver devastating counterpunches that would routinely hurt his opponents. His style could just be described as slick. Considered by some to be the best MMA fighter of all time, Anderson "Spider" Silva was at the top of the game for a very long time. His unique style was remarkable and provided endless entertainment in each one of his fights. Silva would taunt a lot of his opponents and would still be confident enough to fight with his hands down. He was a master in positioning, footwork, deflection, and evasion. He basically made his own style by combining many of the established martial arts. He would strike his opponents in such a fluid motion that they didn't even have time to react, like when he knocked out Vitor Belfort with a front kick. Like all the fighters on this list, his ability to measure distance and get perfect counters would frustrate the elite fighters during his era. He was pretty much perfect.
So confident, the hands are all over the place. Start to stalk, flying needles,
Roy Jones Jr. is a one-in-a-lifetime type of fighter. At his prime, you thought that nobody would be able to beat him. He was a dominant force. He would switch from patient and subtle footwork with great counters to explosive and aggressive flurries and risky one-punch knockouts. He would taunt his opponents on many occasions and would hurt them badly if they tried to copy him, like when he beat James Toney.
Showboating by Jones. He attempts feinting. Left hook and down goes.
He's another fighter who would fight for long durations of his fights with his hands down, but was so fast and had cat-like reflexes that he could easily dodge any punches or would explode with a powerful one-time knockout punch. One of the best weapons was his incredible hand speed that he would use to throw some crazy combinations. He is simply one of the best to ever do it.
Will not carry you there because of the style of the opponent or whatever.
Shane Mosley learned that last Saturday night.
Yeah.
Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is a striking expert, having won many kickboxing championships and had a record of 58 wins with 0 defeats in this sport. He likes to fight standing up, obviously, and is always looking to have the distance to use his outside range. In order to be able to get into this position consistently, he uses his amazing footwork to get better angles and is able to switch stances incredibly easy, allowing him to get strikes from any direction and being able to escape before the opponent tries to take him down. His distance measuring is also in an elite class, as he can move just out of range for you to miss your punch, but allow him to come back in and get a perfect counter. Of course, this all leads to Wonderboy being able to fight a lot with his hands down. He is very fun to watch.
That's the way Masvidal has the best boxing.
Yeahi Rodriguez is one of the newest fighters with a very unique and incredible fighting style. He basically doesn't shy away from trying all types of strikes. If you can think of it, he has probably already tried it. Most aren't successful, but if they are even close, they can be pretty entertaining. He's really good at setting up traps, but experts criticize him for not having the patience to allow these traps to develop longer and be able to capitalize on the hard work put in to make them work. Again, like many on this list, he takes the risk of dropping his hands a lot, although he does get caught more often than the others. But just look at his knockout against the Korean Zombie. That's enough to get him on this list.
Rounds, I thought he was behind in this fight, and he...
Dominick Cruz is another fighter on this list that has a very overpowering fighting style. He frustrates many of his opponents because he fights in such an unorthodox style. He confuses you while making you miss a ton of punches while landing a ton of his own. He is a master of distance and is just out of range while using his crazy movement to move in and land his shots. His movement also allows him to be able to use a ton of angles that leaves his opponents wide open. He's not known for having crazy power and doesn't really focus on hurting his opponents. He mostly tries to get in as many shots as possible while moving in and out of range. He kind of moves like a ragdoll in the ring, keeping his head constantly moving off the center line, which makes him very hard to hit. At number 1, we have the boxer with the most unique and fun fighting style, Prince Naseem Hamed. This British boxer's fighting style was developed by him since he was a kid, and he used it to become one of the best boxers of his era. He would drop his hands all the time, but his perfect waist and head movement would allow him to dodge any punches. The only drawback of his style was that even though he dodged many of the punches, whenever one landed, even if it barely landed, his movement made it seem like the punch was bigger than it actually was. Barrera beat him clearly, but I don't think he actually ever hurt him. His movement just made it seem like he got hurt more than once.
Barrera fighting an intelligent, measured fighter.
He made all his fights into a show with his amazing entrances, and then his dancing and taunting in the ring made the fight very fun. Plus, he had a ton of power in both hands.
He wouldn't argue with that.
Huge jab. And now he's going through the razzle dazzle.
Again, that right hand working so well, and this is a very confident Hamed.
Look at this. I think he's trying to do all this for the Sheffield fans. He's playing to the audience, trying to taunt poor Padilla, who's taking all this.
I could watch the highlights of these fighters forever. They are just so entertaining and are always able to provide a great show regardless if they win or lose. There's also a reason that many of these fighters are famous and popular. It's because their style is just fun. Thanks for watching this video. See you next time.